even more than the Sunday school children. Yeah, I hope it will bless us, even though I share like a Sunday school story today. And before we go further, our sister have already prayed for us, so I would not be praying again. Yeah, excuse me for a while. Just a second. It's okay. Yeah. So let us all turn to 1 Samuel chapter 17. Chapter 17. 1 Samuel chapter 17. Yeah, I'll be just narrating the incidents on that. The story that happens here. So we know the story of David and Goliath, how they fight and how David win. But we'll just have a quick review, quick narration, even from me this afternoon again. So 1 Samuel chapter 17. If you come here, it's a NIV has a heading, David and Goliath. Okay, and in chapter 18, David and Jonathan become friends. And then chapter 16 has a what is that? So yeah, Samuel anoints David. Okay, before we need to know is that before David fights Goliath, Samuel had already anointed David as his successor, as Saul's successor, the king of Israel. In the book of in the chapter 16, that I want all of us to know that. And now in the chapter 17, yes, let us see the story. We can read through the verses, but I'll be quickly narrating the story again. So the Philistines and the Israelites were the enemies. Okay, I think they are the enemies till today. The Philistines. Now we have the Gaza Strips and the West Bank. So the two sides, I think they are filled with the descendants of the Philistines. So the Philistines, they gather all their army to fight against Israel. Okay, they assemble at Soko in Judah, and also the Israelites and came in the valley of Elah. So the Israelites' army also started preparing for the war and drew up their battle in lines to meet the Philistines. So now they're ready to fight. They are now in the camp area. They are meeting each other. They are near to each other. So there was a giant named Goliath among the Philistines. Okay, who always came out of the Philistines camp for 40 days. And he would shout and call for a single fight or a single combat. Okay, and that was also a mortal combat. This Goliath, you can see his features, how strong and how well equipped he was. He was 9 feet and 9 inches tall. I think everybody wants to be very tall. And he wore bronze helmet, wore bronze scale armor of bronze. Yes, and his armor weighs about 58 kilos, 58 kilograms. So that is very interesting, 58 kilos. And on his legs were bronze grips. There was a kind of guard, I think, was there, and a bronze javelin. His javelin also there, and he had a spear which iron points weight 4 kgs. And he has a javelin weight was around 6 kilos, I think. So his shield bearer went ahead of him. So that kind of strength, very tall, and he carries more than a bag of rice, more than 50 kilos. So all his armors are very heavy. So he's a very strong giant. So now, in the meantime, while the war was going on, well, Goliath was always challenging the Israelites, come out, send someone to fight me. So in the movie, if you see that 2-3 men are sent to kill Goliath, but Goliath overpowered the Israelites and killed them. That was what is we see in the movie. But in the Bible, it is not recorded in the way. So in the meantime, well, Goliath was challenging the Israelites almost for 40 days. So Jesse, the father of David, sent his son David to go and find out the well-being of his 3 older sons. David had 3 sons. The eldest of them, 3 of them joining the army of Saul, King Saul. So he come out. He sent David to go and inquire their well-being, and also he sent gifts like the grains for the commander and the loaves for his 3 brothers. And then when David reached the battleground, what happened is he saw the 2 armies sounding war cry in their battle positions. They were lining up. Okay, they were standing in a line, and then so when he saw all these things, when he heard the sounds, then he left all the gifts and things with the keeper supplies, the supplies keeper. So we have a somebody who take care of logistics and supplies also, and then he left them, and then he ran to the battle lines, and he was witnessing what is happening. Goliath challenging them, challenging the Israelites, and asked his brothers how they were, so that he find out about them that they are doing good and they were in that condition. So the Goliath, as usual, then that when David came, the day David came also, Goliath was giving his usual challenge, and started his challenge. Now the challenge was mortal combat. Oh, and he has an offer, challenge, a kind of statement also, that the victor, whoever wins the mortal combat, the single fight, that if Goliath wins, the Philistines have to rule the entire Israel. And if David wins, or if Israelites win, so Israelite will rule over the Philistines. That was the challenge and offer. And after David inquired of the rewards for killing Goliath, he was asking here and there, is there any promise, any reward assured by King Saul for anybody who killed Goliath? And he learned that he has promised to give his daughter wealth and many other ranks as well. So he learned from many soldiers, and his willingness, his challenge, why his boldness was overheard by King Saul. Like, why should this uncircumcised Philistines continue to speak ill of the army of God? So David boldly said in verse 32, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." So David was brought to King Saul. So he boldly confessed to King Saul that, don't lose heart, don't be afraid of this man, of this Philistine. Your servant, I will go and fight him. Very brave, very brave statement we see here. And then what happened is Saul underestimated David because he was young, inexperienced in battle. And David was very young. I think he's just a teenage or the early 20s. He was the youngest in the family, inexperienced in battle. So I think he's not used to sword. So Saul was comparing David with Goliath, who was a warrior since his youth. Now Goliath may be maybe 40 plus, let's say, or 50 plus, experience in the battle. So to that, David shared his memories, how God helped him rescue his father's sheep while he was tending his father's sheep. That he ran quickly and rescued the sheep from the lion's mouth and also the bear. So he took their hairs and then he killed them. Barehanded, he killed them. He killed the lion and the bear. So that experience, that strengthened him also. And then David was giving the credit to God for rescuing him from the lion and the lion and the bear also. Okay, somewhere in the verse I failed to mention the place. When he recollect how God rescued, he was narrating back to King Saul. He said, "The Lord to rescue me from the paw of the lion, okay, and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of these Philistines." He was giving all the credit to God. It is not that David was strong that he could defeat um, this lion and the bear, but he was giving all the credit and the glory and the credit to God. Then Saul gave him his armor. Okay. Then if God is with you and if it is like that, if you kill the lion, so now you please do that. You please go and fight Goliath. Okay, he allowed him. Then Saul gave his armor, all his armor, helmet, and sword, whatever is needed of a soldier. Saul gave all of his to David. But David, as he was walking around trying to carry all those heavy armor of King Saul, he was disturbed, for he was not used to them. So that's why he left all of those armor, swords, and everything. Then he took his staff. Staff is a kind of stick that is used to take care of the sheep, I believe. So he chose 5 smooth stones from the stream. There must be a stream nearby. So with his sling, and approach the Philistines. He comes to fight the Philistines with his sling, 5 smooth stones, and the staff. Then these two, Goliath and David, they came closer to each other. Goliath was despising David because he was a teenager or a little more than a boy. And so Goliath cursed David by his gods. By using the name of his gods, Goliath was cursing David. Okay. And then he said, "Come here," he said, "and I will give your flesh to the birds and wild animals." Okay. So it is humanly speaking, in the terms of, in the eyes of men, it is very obvious that David cannot stand up against Goliath in no way. In any means, he cannot stand up against, because Goliath was a giant and David was just a young teens, let's say young teenager. So, but what did David replied? Let's see in verse 45 to 47. Can someone read for us verses 45 to 47? Verses 45 till 47. Yeah, please read again.
I'll just read it. 1 Samuel chapter 17 verses 45 till 47. David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." This is the word.
Yeah, thank you, sister. Just look at the confidence and the confession or the statement. Before they fight, they were fighting in words first. No? They have a debate here. Come against David said to Goliath, "No, you are coming against me with sword and spear and javelin, all these things. But today I'm coming to you to fight you in the name of the Lord." What is that? I come against you in the name of God of Israel. No? Yeah. I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty and the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. So this is very interesting. His faith in the Lord. That God will fight for you. So this day, the Lord will deliver you into my hands and I'll strike you down. So it is faith is something very certain. The faith that David has. No? Something like, God may deliver you into my hands. It's not me. or it may be possible, not like that. But surely God will deliver you into my hands. Now this day the Lord will deliver you into my hand. I'll strike you down and cut off your head. So this kind of confidence, 100% sure. Now this is called faith, our Christian faith. So all those gathered here will know that it is not by sword nor spear that the Lord saved, for the battle is the Lord's. So, and He will give all of you into our hands. So the battle belongs to the Lord. So, in many times, when we look back to the history in the creation's account, and also the Exodus story, and how Israelites move out from Egypt till Canaan, and even more than that, even Abraham, all of them have a simple, they have a very raw faith in God. They don't know what exactly will happen, but they trust God, and their faith was rewarded. So just in faith, God was with the Israelites when they moved out. God divided the sea for them to move in a dry seabed. They could come and they could survive in a desert 40 years. God provided for them manna for 40 years. So that's what happened. We could see all of the miracles. And moreover, there are more miracles. And we know that God works miracles for those who trust Him. Okay, God works miracles with those who trust Him and those who fear Him. And as we now face this pandemic, the COVID-19, and there's one good thing that I see that most of the people they thrive. That is one of the good thing. But the other side, we know that some people also they died because of this disease, new COVID-19. But I know for sure that if God has still time, and that is in God's hand. Okay, it is not that we be so certain. But if God willing, and if it is God's will, He will use somebody or someone or a country or a nation to help or cure this pandemic again. That is my faith. So it is in God's hand. So it's been almost a year. We are so much scientifically developed, so much advanced people, the world, we are posting about all these things. But we are helpless. We are brought to our knees. We are helpless now. So I think the victory will come with those who trust God, who have complete faith in God. So those who rely on God will be the one, I believe, that God will use to help find a solution even for this COVID as well. God can do that. But I don't know who God will use. So, but even I have a faith that God will continue to help us even in this fighting against this COVID-19 as well. So our God is a God of miracle. He still works miracles today. I believe that. Of course, since we have many medical advancements also in great extent, of course we have to obey them also. Not that we defy all of this and go against the knowledge and the wisdom that we have. But I believe like God is in control, and God will take care of us, and also He will help us overcome. So let us trust God as we trust God. In all of the hopelessness, who will fight the lion? Who will fight the bear? Who will fight all these giants with just the stones and slings? So this is something kind of weird, or it's a kind of crazy things that happens even in their times. Somebody holding a sword or a javelin or a spear, and somebody holding a stone. I think this is not something that we can. It is like gun and bow and arrow trying to fight. So we can see the miracles here. So the battle is the Lord. So let us count it. The battle is the Lord's. Even today in this situation as well. So I think I have gone so far. And so David used his sling, struck down the Philistines and killed him. and then he cut his head. That's what happened. He used his sling, he ran quickly to the battleground, and also David, Goliath, being abjoined, he moved little slow. So taking the advantage, he ran forward quickly, and then he used his sling and struck down a Philistine and killed him and cut his head. Okay, so looking at the weaknesses of somebody, of our enemy, and trying to overcome, that is also what we see here. So when their hero was killed, the Philistines' army fled from the battle position. So all the Philistine army, the Israelites saw that Goliath was falling down, and then David had come over and cut his head. And all the Philistines' army, they fled, and then the Israelites shouted in victory, because David had killed Goliath, the champion or the hero or the leader, let's say. And they pursue the Philistines army till the gates of Ekron and Gath. Goliath was from Gath, so Ekron, another city of Philistine, and they killed many Philistines along the way. And so the Israelites returned from the chase and plundered the camp. Whatever is there, the extra weapons or their surprise food grains that they have, their clothing, everything, they carried away and they took for themselves. So David brought Goliath's head and weapons to his tent in Jerusalem. So he took all the weapons that belongs to Goliath. Then Saul asked David his father's name. David wanted to know. Saul wanted to know, who is this? Who is his father? No? Who is David's father? Okay. David come and said, I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem. Okay. I think from there, later on, he came to know that David is the one whom Samuel went and anointed him to be his successor also later on. So that is the story. I skip most of the words and most of the thing. But what we can see from here is just the instance of the incidents of the fighting between Goliath and David and Goliath, and in one of the battle scene, one season of battle we can see. But if we look further into the biodata of David, we know that David was a shepherd, and he was a shepherd and a poet. He wrote like the Lord is my shepherd, and then he also is a giant killer, very strong, and he can kill lion and all those. So he was a giant killer, and he was the king, ancestor of Jesus, father of Jesus. So Jesus was known as the son of David, and so he was one of the greatest men in the Old Testament. But on the other hand, we also see that David was a betrayer. He betrayed. He used to lie also sometimes. Then he committed adultery also, and he was a murderer also. So then, yet he is remembered and respected for his heart for God. He was known by God as a man after my own heart, a man after God's own heart. So that was what we see about this man, biodata. And David had an immovable belief. Okay, he believed God. Okay, his faith is immovable. Okay, his ceaseless faith he has, unceasing faith he has, and he also has a faith in forgiving nature of God. Okay, he lived with energy and enthusiasm, and like many of you, you're so much enthusiastic and energetic, ready to do anything, anytime. So I saw that in all of you. But David also sinned many times, but quickly repented. Though many times he will quickly repent, and his repentance will be always a genuine. He will not repeat that sin. I think we saw him committing adultery only once, and we saw him taking census only once. So when he repent, he never repeat the sins. He was very serious. with God also, and with his sins also. So at the same time, God never held back from David either his forgiveness or the consequence of his actions. Though he rejoices in the forgiveness of God, he has to accept the punishment for his sin. And when he takes the census, God kills 70,000 of Israelites in all of the lands of Israel. So that happened, and yeah, due to his adultery and so on, then there is a fight that happens between his brothers, and then there are so many problems that comes up in his among his children. So Absalom was killed, Amnon was killed among the brothers. All those happens because of his disobedience, and then the fight for kingship happens again. All those happens, but he has to take all of the consequences on him. But he rejoices in the forgiveness of God. Okay, and we also see some of the strengths and accomplishment that God was the one who anointed him to be the king of Israel. God promised that he would be king one day, so he became king of Israel. Though it was very difficult, it was a very hard struggle. And I saw in a movie that the Nathan was a prophet who replaced Samuel, who took the office of Samuel after Samuel died. Okay. So Nathan was comforting Israel. God makes it hard for you to be king. Okay. So it's a very hard struggle, but he could become the king of Israel as God wants him to be. And then he's the ancestor of Jesus Christ, and he's listed in the Hall of Faith in Hebrews chapter 11. Okay, a man who has faith, a heroes of faith, a man described by God himself as a man after his own heart. Okay, he was described by God as a man after his own heart. So he has weakness. I have already mentioned also that he has committed adultery, arranged murder of Uriah, and also he has disobeyed God in taking census of the people, and did not deal decisively with his children's sins. So most of the time we saw that he pardoned his children in his grace. But that is not what people want, and that is not what God wants. He has to punish severely, deal severely with his children's sins also. Some of the lessons we can learn from his life is that willingness to honestly admit our mistakes is the first step in dealing with them. So honestly, we have to admit and confess, ask forgiveness for our sin. So forgiveness does not remove the consequences of sin. Okay, even today, if we sin, there are always the consequences. My brothers and sisters, I think all of us experience that, and you experience more. So if you keep on sinning, knowingly or unknowingly, there will be always the consequences. Okay, so let us take sin seriously also, learning from David. God greatly desires our complete trust and worship. I think this is the greatest lesson that I would like to focus today. That God greatly desires our complete trust and worship. So, but David has a complete trust in God, and he worshipped God at all times. Though he sinned, though he rise, though he was in his good days, in the days of his victory, in the days of his sinning, in the days of his complete loss and darkness, he trusts God and he worshipped God. So in his sin, he worshipped God. He called on God for forgiveness. I think that kind of complete trust and dependence and worship is what we can see, the most important thing that I would like to focus today. So as I've said, I'm just giving you something like a Sunday school story today. But I know that even beyond I speak, as I was sharing, I think God would have speak to you in various ways. I believe that. So through these chapters, 1 Samuel chapter 17, the fight between Samuel and David, this Goliath and David and Goliath, in their fight, there are some of things that I would like to draw as an application for us. No, like that, so that we have unceasing or immovable faith in God in all battles of life, either small or great, however small or great they are, however difficult or easy they are. So let us keep God, include God. Uh, that's what I want to say. So David, in his very good time, when he was all alone, he practiced his harp and sing and composed the songs and all those, and then so that sometimes he could write down again. That's a very good thing, that he has a faith in God. He remembers God at all times. So he did not forget God even in his very young age while he was suffering. So God make it difficult for you to become king. So it's very difficult process for him to become king, but he never give up his faith. He moves on. I was also sharing somewhere from this where there is a direct quotation from the scripture in the First Samuel, like God make it difficult for you to become king. So I was sharing this in the facilitation of one sister who got through MBBS, and her elder sister who have finished her MA. Okay, they are in my village, so they are from my village. In the facilitation, I was asked by my pastor to speak, so I was just sharing this. It is not easy for somebody to be successful in life, from the life of King David. So though it may be difficult for you to become doctors, you are struggling. Okay, all of you are struggling. So it is not easy. But as Brother Nehemiah wronged, the executive secretary of UESI Manipur was also sharing to my two nephews and his friend, that you struggle for 4-5 years or 5-6 years, you struggle and you suffer for 5-6 years, and you enjoy the rest of your life. He was sharing that. So I would also want to remind you that, so as you struggle along, so as you through all the difficulties of your particular lessons, many lessons that you have to learn, I don't know what subjects you are, all the difficulties you have to go through, so that through all of those you will serve the people. We also know that serving God is serving people. So one day God will use all of those talents again. So, but in all of your difficulties, all of our difficulties, let us have our complete faith in God, our immovable faith in God. So let us have complete trust in God. So however difficult the situations for us is, and also let us live seriously and to the fullest potential. Let us live our best. Let us live our best. Let us do our best in our lives. So I was also the one who never realized that. That's why I have limited talent. So I want you to learn from a mistake also. But David, on the other hand, he was suffering. He was a good shepherd, and he experienced how to be a good shepherd. So he imagined himself like God is a good shepherd. So he imagined God as a very good shepherd. You know how a good shepherd should be. He was a good musician also. He was somebody who plays the harps and then would just turn away the evil spirit from the King Saul's presence, from King Saul's heart. So that kind of very talented, gifted, because he uses even his musical skills, and then he was a warrior. How comes that kind of shepherd would go and fight these giants? So it is a wonderful, it's a kind of wonderful things. It's a miracle. So he was a warrior. He becomes a great warrior and a commander of King Saul's army for some time, and then and he was a great king also, and he becomes a very great king, the greatest king I believe in Israel. So is King David. So let us do whatever. He plays his best the harps, and he fight his best, he give his best, sacrificing his life, he fight his life, he fight the lions, the bear, and even Goliath. So let us do that. And he was a poet, he write nicely, the Lord is my shepherd, and many other psalms. And he was a very good shepherd, and he was a very good king. So whatever we do, let us do our best. So let us use all that opportunities that we have to develop for you all as a medical student, for you to develop your skills as a doctor. So it is not a competition. It's a competition also. If you want to go for higher studies, I believe. So many of our EGF, they are planning for this PG, but they cannot get. So they are joining coaching 2-3 years. So it's also a kind of competition. But most importantly, it is a skill that will help you in your profession, in your later lives. So whatever that we are doing, let us do our best. So some of you, though you were medical students, you're very good in music, you're very good in sports. So all of your kind of hobbies or talents, even all of those, if you sharpen them nicely, if you master all those skills, I believe that God will use all of those later on. So surrendering your talents and strengths to God so that God can use them for His glory to accomplish His purpose for you. So surrendering your talents and strengths to God. So we, as I was mentioning before also, that David doesn't take all the glory. That I killed the bear and the lion, but the God who enables me to kill the lion and the bear and rescue my sheep, the same God, the God of Israel, will help me overcome this giant. So whatever the talents that you have acquired, the strength, the gifts that you have acquired, it should be surrendering. It should be surrendered to God so that God can use all of you for His glory, all of us for His glory, to accomplish His purpose for you. God has a purpose for each one of you, for each one of us. He will continue to accomplish, fulfill, to make into success. God will work out His purpose even in our lives as we submit ourselves to Him, so we surrender to Him, and also as we trust Him. So let us, most importantly, I like to focus is that the battle is the Lord's. So if God has to fight our battle, we should have a faith in Him. We should completely depend on Him. So we should have a complete trust in Him. So that's what we see in Hebrew for the ending. Let me read Hebrew chapter 11 verse 32 to 34. Okay, Hebrew chapter 11 verses 32 to 34. So what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquer kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shuts the mouth of lion, and quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle, and routed foreign armies. Hebrew chapter 11 verse 32 to 34. So here the Hall of Faith, like we have something like Hall of Fame, something we have many things. So Hall of Faith, David's name is also here. So we see here that faith is something like that that a person can do in his strength. So the accomplishment, these heroes of faith, where Hebrews chapter 11 mentioned Jephthah, David, Samuel, Barak, Samson, Gideon. So these people accomplish something beyond their strength. Why? Because they have faith in God. What is faith? So when it comes to the definition, faith is a complete trust in God, total reliance on God, completely surrendering and believing that God is there for us, and completely trusting God, complete trust in God. Okay, that God will help us. So that kind of trust, that kind of faith is there. So if God has to do our battle, if our battle is the Lord's, so then we should be completely trusting God. So the battle is the Lord's. If we are to say that the battle is, my battle is for the Lord, your battle, our battle is the Lord's, then we should also give our complete trust or our faith in God. So I'll end up from here. So let God fight our battle. Because of that, because we have faith in God, let God fight our battle. And so if we have faith in God, our battle is the Lord's. Okay, the battle is the Lord's. So in every circumstances, in every directions, in every journeys of our life. So let us continue to have faith in God, so that the Lord fights our battle. Okay, may God bless all of us through this Sunday school type of sharing today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, brother, for your